In this video, we're going to be looking at charts and data to see my competition averages over time and if I've actually been improving or if I've not been improving. And we'll see this data to make my decision on which event to improve on. And also, I just like numbers, so this is probably going to be fun for me. And let's get into the video. So this is the chart of the 3x3 averages, and don't worry about this text down here. It's pretty jumbled, and I'm going to hover over each of the points, and it tells you what competition, what round, and what average I got in that round. So for example, the point I'm hovering over right now, Pyraminx in Pewaukee 2024. This was round 2. I got a 10.57 average, and this was PR at the time because you see it was the lowest average up to this point. None of the other averages before it went as low as it. So at the start here, we see that I got a bunch of 17, 16 averages until there was a big drop off at this point at Land of Lincoln 2024, which that was due to me improving over like the 1 month time span between those two competitions. And I was like heavily vested into cubing, and then the averages from that point kind of stabilized at the 11-second range, and they actually seem to have gotten less consistent. There are more averages down in this 9-second range, but there are a few averages up here in this 13-second range, which I don't want. So in general, I just want to see more of the 9-second averages for 3x3 and less of the 13-second averages, but that's it for 3x3. This is probably the most detailed graph we will see. And now let's move on to 2x2. Now we've moved on to 2x2. This is the graph of the averages, and at the start there were some 5 averages that you didn't like, and there's also this 5 average, which we're not going to talk about. And over time, like at the start here, you see a dramatic drop off to like the 3-second range, and then this 3-second averages trend kind of stayed the same. In fact, it's gone to like low 3s recently, and I even got a 2-second average at my most recent round of 2x2, so that was pretty fun. And it does seem like this trend is overall going down. For 3x3, it was more stabilized, but for 2x2, I am improving slightly just by learning to predict more of the CLOs. And that's it for 2x2, and we'll move on to 4x4. Okay, so these are the graphs of my 4x4 averages, and we see our first over a minute time. This is graphed in seconds, so this is 71.3 seconds or a minute 11 seconds. And then the rest of the 4x4 times are under a minute. It does also seem like this is a downward trend. We don't get as much data, but these low 40 averages are happening a lot more often than the high 40 ones. Ignore that one. And this one is a bit high for the downward trend, but I hope to see this downward trend continue. Hopefully I can get some more like even 30 averages in 4x4. That'd be pretty great. Yeah, now we'll move on to the next event of 5x5. Okay, so now we got a graph of my 5x5 averages, and there was a steep decline in time from 161 seconds or 2 minutes 41 seconds all the way down to 99 seconds, which is about a minute 40. And that means I go from 240 to 140 in just the span of 2 competitions, just because I was improving that much. And also getting the GAN 5x5 really helped me out here. It dropped like 10 seconds off my average. It's actually crazy compared to the MGC. And then it doesn't look like this has been much of a downward trend from here, but that's just because of the drastic improvement at the start. This is actually pretty big improvement. I've gone from like 1 minute 30 to 1 minute 20 in the span of like 4-ish months. Hope to get sub 120 average, because my best average in competition is exactly 1 minute 20 seconds. So that would be great to have. So I didn't graph 6x6, 7x7, or blindfolded, so I'll just show you the results right here. For 6x6, you see I got really good times at the latest competition, but these other 2 averages are fairly similar, and also in Illinois, I didn't make the cutoff, so that's kind of embarrassing. Then we go to 7x7. There's a few DNFs here, which sucks, but there's also, what's weird is that the best averages of mine for 7x7 were the first average. It was this single was my first ever 7x7 single in competition, and it is still my PR to this day. I can definitely beat this now because I got a better 7x7. I've been practicing a bit. Hopefully I'll be able to beat this in competition the next time I have 7x7. And then there's this 502 average, which I still haven't beaten just because I guess the cutoffs have been so strict by Illinois. Again, we ignore. And then we have 3 blind, which I have mostly DNFs for, but I do have a few singles here, and I have 3.5 minute, 3 minute, and 2.5 minute. I just don't practice blindfolded, so these times are probably not going to be beaten. You see I'm on a streak of DNFs lately, so I don't think 3 blind is an event that I'm going to practice or care about, so that's why I didn't graph it. Also because it'd be hard to graph DNF averages. And now we'll go on to the next event. Next up here we have one-handed, and it doesn't look like I've improved a crazy amount in this event, although these times, which are all like sub 20 averages, are lower than these times, which were all like low 20, mid 20 averages. That's good. I don't know what happened at this competition. That's kind of weird. I don't remember that. And also recently, this looks like it like goes really far up. I think it's just because my one-handed results are pretty consistent. This is more closer to what I average now. Honestly, I would have expected this to be more up and down, but it is kind of consistent. This one-handed PR in Wisconsin was pretty big, so that's going to be very hard to break, but hopefully I do. Okay, so these are my clock average times, and right now it looks like I'm getting worse at this event, which I may say is true because I don't practice this because I did like a little like surgery on my clock because the clock was kind of like there's cracks in it, and I had a different clock casing which didn't have cracks in it, but it was a clock that I didn't use anymore. So I took the clock casing from the clock I didn't use anymore and swapped it out with the clock casing of this new one that I actually use, and now I have like a good clock casing on a good clock, and that means that I don't want to damage it, so I'm just not practicing it. I don't know how like those cracks happen, but for me, it has happened on both of them. For clock averages at Michigan Championships, this was like a bad average. At the same time, I also improved a lot from this competition time span, so this does make sense why there's a big drop off here. And then my peak clock time seemed to be late 2024, early 2025. The World Championships is actually where my PR is, and it doesn't look pretty these last couple. I was worried about my clock in this competition, but this competition, it feels like these 10-second averages are going to become more of my norm. I wish I could get more sub 10 averages, but that's not going to happen if I don't practice clock. Now we're on to Megaminx, and at the start, as you can see, there's again like a pretty big drop off from 95 seconds or a minute 35 down to 80 seconds, which is a minute 20. I feel like my Megaminx averages have been slightly better than my 505 averages for a while, but these last two averages, not pretty, and I feel like this is more of what I average because I was practicing Megaminx a lot in like this time span in which I got a few sub 110 averages, and I like haven't practiced Megaminx that much here, so it looks like it's going back up. Like obviously that's not good, but if I don't practice, that is going to happen. Hopefully they go back down again like without me practicing, but that's kind of like impossible, so I'm probably gonna have to practice to get these times back down again from like the 116s they are down to like the 106s or something that I want them to be. So we'll grind there and we'll see at the next competition what I get from Megaminx. So this is a graph of my pure Minx averages. We have an above 10-second average here, but ever since I've not gotten an average above 8 seconds. I've had like a long streak of sub 7 averages from this competition all the way up to this competition, which I broke it. And it seems like my pure Minx averages as of recently, I mean sort of 2025, are very inconsistent. I get averages in the 6s and averages down in the 4s as well. This is a PR average for me. It was absolutely crazy. The scrambles were insane. And also this low 5 average, pretty good. And in general, I feel like I want to get more of these consistent mid 5 averages. If you're inconsistent in an event, that's like, I feel like not as good as if you're consistent, even if you're consistently slightly worse than your best inconsistent times. I hope to get a bunch of sub 7 averages. That's really my main goal in pure Minx. And I really don't practice outside of competition in this event, but I still somehow get pretty decent times. So I don't think I have anything to do for pure Minx. And now let's move on to the next event, Scube. Okay, so now these are my averages for Scube, and you see as usual there's like a pretty decently big drop off at the start, but it seems like the inconsistency for pure Minx is nothing compared to Scube. It's been very inconsistent. I mean, in 2025 it's been a bit less inconsistent. I've been getting a bunch of 7 averages, few low 6 averages at Chicago and Newcomers. That's a pretty big Scube competition for me, and it does seem like it's on an upward trend again, but trust me, this can definitely go down. Like you saw, this was on an upward trend and it immediately went down like half its time. So I don't think any trends like matter for Scube. I think in general this is an event that is just like pure Minx, where I depend heavily on luck, except I'm worse at this event than pure Minx, so it's more inconsistent than pure Minx. Okay, so square one is this final graph here, and this is the side event that I've had the least amount of rounds from. As you can see, this graph is fairly basic, and there are some averages up here in the 25-second range, and there is an average down here at 16 seconds. Worlds was an absolutely crazy competition for square one. Go watch the vlog if you haven't, but it does seem like most of my averages are around this low 20-second range, and that's because there's no big drop off at the start. I did most of my improving for square one at the start right here. I haven't really done much square one improvement since, so my averages have been fairly consistent. And also that's kind of weird because like in this competition in April, I got a minute square one time or something like that, and I somehow still got a 24 average. And like Pewaukee was not good for square one either. I think I got like a 38-second time. And then in Worlds, I just got really good scrambles or something, I don't know, and got a 16 average just by chance. So it doesn't seem like I'm consistent in the individual rounds, but I am consistent as a whole, like the averages throughout my cubing career. But that is the last graph I have to show you. Thank you for watching this video of me looking at numbers to see if I'm really screwed or not in terms of my cubing, which events should I practice, and I'll see you in the next video.